So I'm going to change the connector for the clocks. So the VTI clock like that, with that type of connector on the back. Changing that for the EF clocks, which is like this. And the wiring is very similar. This is the VTI. Only difference between these two is white black there, and then the EF it's white blue, but very similar. So I've taken the wire ends, so tried to feed it into the plug, which is like this, but it doesn't quite work because well, the connectors are very small here and they're quite a lot fatter in this plug. So anyway, so what I'm going to do instead is just cut them off and solder it. I've left it a bit long so I can give a few more options in terms of threading it through. So I'm just going to cut the ends off, trim it all up and just solder it. There we have it, ready for a bit of tape, or possibly just slip this thing, factory thing over the top of it. It's already got the heat shrink on there. There we go, lovely. That's done. Yeah, and then more stuff. So I have to figure out stuff for the sunroof. So this is all of it. I'll show you what I'm going to do. Basically the plugs for all of this sunroof stuff are here. So part of it's here. This is the relay. It's obviously all the EF stuff. And this plug here. And I've got the wiring diagram. So all I need to do, or kind of what I found out I need to do, is change, well, this relay, it needs to be changed, well, the fuse needs to be changed from 20 amp to 15 amp. So this is fairly easy with the dome light. So all you need to do is get the white red, which is here, and that goes into this connector I've got here. The white red goes into the black, which is white blue here. And my process of deduction is pretty simple. So I just go here, go to ground, that's there like that, then put it on voltage, and here 12 volts, so that's good. And then just check I've got ground, which the other side, yeah, I've got ground. And then if I have a look over here, I should have, that's there, that's there, that's there, that's there. I have 12 volts there. That means I've got 12 volts over that bulb, but it's not lighting up, which means if I just, little festoon bulb, I'm thinking I go back down to continuity now. It's here, no continuity, that means the bulb's done, which is annoying, but that's what it should sound like. So I've got some new bulbs on the way. So this here needs to be wired to the door. That's this little door switch here. So all I've got to do is wire that to the other door switches, and I'll see if that works. So what we can do is just see if I get 12 volts when I ground it, and that will prove if this works or not. So in the absence of a bulb that works, which is fairly annoying, but there you go, in the middle switch, it's got the door, when its door's open, the light will come on. So I've got my voltmeter set up either side of that, so when this goes to 12 volts, I mean the light would come on if the bulb wasn't blown. So anyway, so again, I've still got the white and red from the loom into this connector, which goes to the white and blue, and then in here this will need to be connected to the door open. So then I can just basically connect this to an earth. So I know this is an earth here. So then you see it goes to 12 volts when the door's closed. So if I touch the earth again, it goes to 12 volts. So all I need to do really is connect this one here to the door closed part of this loom. I found the wire that goes to the door switch, and just put it in. Basically just going to ground when this is open. So you see when the door's open as it is now, it goes to 12 or around 12 volts. I've got the new bulb, and festoon bulb they call it. I'll put the specs on the screen of what it is, the spec of it, and then you just change obviously the light bulb, and then chuck this in here like that, and we'll connect the battery and see if it works. The sunroof wiring is very easy. Obviously you've got the switch is one of them, the relay, this is all part of the old loom. Then you've got this which goes into the board here, the fuse board just there, but you need this connector on there, so just line up the wires, solder more on, and just put them in. Right, so that's all done, and just chuck it in here. And then put the battery on and see if it works. Right, ignition on, and let's see. Open. That's it. So it works. The hazard light switch just isn't going to work, because it used to be on top of the steering wheel, but obviously I've rotated this whole bit of plastic round and there's no space for it to fit kind of underneath anymore, because of where I've got this position. So I have to keep the MT2 one. So bonus is it means I've got a light on it, but that's about it.
Right, I'm just here at the Civic. I'm just going to put the rear plastics in. Yeah, so I'm just going to do that now. Right, okay. Right, so back at the Civic, Paul's just putting in the final touches to electrics. I'm going to refit the interior into the car. So that's the two bits of plastic, the rear seat, and the seat belts, and the carpet. Put the rear plastics in, you need to put the seatbelt tensioner in. That's on a 10 and a 17 bolt. You then feed over the rear plastic onto the front lip here of the door. You also need to pull out the bit of rubber here which goes onto the rear window, like I've done over there. Plastic either side of the parcel shelf are held up by 10mm bolts, 1, 2, and then 3. It's hooked in either side on a metal hook. It's on a 10mm bolt at the back. Put the rear seat in, you need to get the metal bit into this kind of top hat hole. So you slot that in there. You then have to push it in. So push it in towards the edge of the car. Then there is another top hat here that goes into the hole here in the seat. So you have to slide that in there. Then you need to pull the seat towards you. Then you have a piece like this, which is like a little plastic C-cup, which is helpful to use a pair of pliers. You put that in here, and then you go back towards the end of the car, pull up some of the material, and your C-cup thing needs to just go into the edge here. Push it in, and then when you put the seat back, that's it, done. The seats are in, and so are the rear plastics and the side plastics. Pull,
Yeah, I've just been taking all the wiring out of here. I've done as much as I can to a point. All the ABS wires, well, some of them, I've left some of it in. Just trying to minimise what I can. Do this, just adding that 12 volt constant supply, which is all to do with the memory on the S2000 dash. So I'll just put that in there now and solder it up.
This is the wire tuck, isn't it?
This is not the wire tuck, but
it looks like one.
So once that's done, I'm going to basically just put the middle bit of the heater, that in, and just try and put the wires all up and in, and then try and put the dash in. Fed these wires that we sorted out earlier up into the hole in there, and then out into the indicators, and got that both sides. If you show the indicators are in now, Andy.
Indicators are now in.
All we're doing now is just putting all the wires as far back as it will go. I'll put this fuse box underneath here, and I'm just going to put all the wires back over here, obviously, and more closer to where they need to be. Now I need to run all my HVAC ducting. Well, it's not cooling, but you know, heat pipe ducting into the car, and I'm going to put it. There's this one bit, I think it's this bit, that needs to go in a really narrow part of it, so I'm going to see if I can get that one placed. Kind of slid this bottom one in first from this direction. I slid the top one in that way and then had to rotate them around, but there's probably other ways of doing it, it's easier, but you're left with this set up with them both next to each other, and then this piece goes in facing up like that. I'll show you what that looks like when it's in. Took a fair amount of wiggling, but managed to get it on that bolt or stud. And here, this bit goes to the door, and then I just had to move this back a bit in order to get it back in, so I can just then push these on the respective positions there and there again. Right, that's in, both sides and both sides, so it goes kind of into there, then into this bit, and here this little cable which controls the flap. I just need to put a 10mm screw on that, sorry, 10mm nut on that, and a little plastic clip there, which I do. We've got this fuse box, so I think I'm going to need to try and put it right up here, like so, some zip ties, because it won't go on the original position. But the next thing I want to do is put this wiring behind here, and what you can do, I hope, is take out this these two 12mm and the 12mm leg there, and just shove that back underneath there. After much taping and zip tying, I've got to this point, so I've only got to put this behind, like I was saying. This is all fairly neat up in here, so I've just run this to there. I'm going to run it up here, and then this I need to find a home for. I'm going to probably just run it underneath the I'm not going to run it behind the pedals. I did that last time. I don't think it will work. Let's have a look. As you can see, I've just taken that plate off there, and that means that I can run the wires behind here, and it's out the way of the throttle pedal and everything else, which is good. And now I can just put these wires where they need to go, up behind here. Now it's got to the point I'm going to put in the gauges. I've got a multimeter on here, and I can see that if I flick the ignition on, which I'll do now, I go to 12 volts here pretty much. Battery's a bit flat, but 12 volts here, which is the red lead, power lead. And then if I look at this one here, which is the orange lead, and that goes to the third one in, which is red and black on the loom, that I've actually at 0 now. But then if I turn on the lights, I go to you know, 12 volts. It would be 12 volts if I was had a full battery and stuff. Anyway, so turn them off and it goes back to sound 0. So I know how to connect these all up. I've got two gauges which are the same make. and these ones I'm going to just put so both the oranges are going to go to my orange cable, so my light operated, so headlight operated switch, and then the red cables are going to go to the red, which is nice and easy here, and then the grounds are going to get to ground, and then these ones are for the actual sensor themselves. So we've got, well, I'll explain that probably nearer the time, but so the temperature sensors and stuff like that. And I've got a pressure sensor as well, so yeah, I will just put them all in later, but for now I just want to make sure I've got all the they can be powered up, and I'm going to actually go and get my other gauges as well, so I can look at the wiring for that, because I'm thinking I can run it all off this little harness, and then when I go to disconnect it, I can just disconnect all of them in one go. And the little bit of wire I already have here, this is for the lambda sensor, so I just need to cut that, solder all of the wires onto this for the power, and go from there. So this is the gauge I'm using, or one of them. So this is the auto gauge voltmeter, so probably the least interesting out of gauges. It's not going to be moving much, but I'm going to put it bottom left, so just put it in there like that, taking out the packaging, you'll see, and then you get this terminal extender thing in the back, and then let's get another one. Just wind them in like that, don't make it tight or anything, and then you can get this thing which holds the gauge in. So just slide that over. I can't do that one-handed, but slide that over, and then put these nuts on the back just to secure it to this holder. Here we have all the gauges laid out. So here we have the voltmeter. It's a bit dark, you can't really see it yet, it's smoked. We have the water temperature there, and then we finally have the fuel pressure here. So in terms of what you get, you obviously don't get much with the voltmeter. You get a sticker, you get a cowl, so that's a little sunblock thing you can put over it. I don't think I'm going to be using them yet. Yes, I might do, but not yet. And then we have another one as well for the water temperature, and this comes with the little sensor to go, I guess, into a little adapter you can run into your top hose. Sticker again, and then here we have, this is the fuel pressure, and this is from Depot Racing. So again, you get a cowl, but it's like a different one, and then you get well, I think they think you're going to mount it onto your dash, so you get this little thing here, little pod, and then you can stick the pod onto there, and it comes with this little 3M sticking mounting tabs and a screw that goes through it. Obviously this is the sensor, so that'll need to go into the fuel gauge. I'm hoping I can get some adapter. I'll need an adapter for this to screw in, because I think all mine are NPT. I don't know what that is yet, so I need to figure that one out. So there we have it, they're all in. It's the classic tape job there to hold it in, because the other thing was not gonna work. So there we have it, that's good, and then I can just figure out all this wiring. What's quite interesting about this depot gauge is it allows you to pick which scale you want to have. So you have the white and the amber, and depending on which cables you connect, you can have it how you want it, basically. So I think I'm going to go for white in the daytime, so here, and amber at night. So if I connect the white wire to the ACC and the orange wire to the parking lamp, I'll get that. So right, just going to tell you a little bit about the glow shift light. So it's obviously on the back. You've got where you want to set your light to come on. So I've got it up to 8,000 or something. That's a lot, but you know, wherever your peak torque is, you might want to change there. Up to you. Either way, it's got 3 wires that come out of it. Green, which wants to go to your blue tacho RPM signal. Red, which is your switch 12 volts ignition, and black, which is your earth. And all I've done is just solder and heat shrink it on to a plug. It's a plug that I got from the VTI actually, I wasn't using. And then the other side of that just wants to come into these where I've wired the gauges up. So you can see this one here, which is blue. That I want to go into that one for the green cable, so the tacho cable. The solid yellow, which is the 12 volt feed. I think it's that one. And then the black, I want to earth it. So I'm just going to solder that back up, and obviously I've got the other side of that connector, which is here. So then when I come to put these in, I can just simply unhook them from this cable, and it's nice and easy. Whereas before I had it was a bit stupid setup really, that I had just soldered it in directly, so I had to snip it off each time I wanted to remove it. So not that I want to remove this a lot, but it's just going to make my life a little bit easier. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to solder these up into here, and then I will have my adjustable shift light. We have it, that's all wired up and into here. I'm just going to plug these back into the back of my clocks and just neaten up the whole thing with some tape, just so the wires stay in the same place, where the connectors stay in the correct place for the back of the clocks. So this is the finished product. So we have the shift light there, 3-pin connector, and that all in here. And that's all good and finished up. So, and that's obviously the K-tuned bit that's wired into this, so it looks a lot neater now. I've put the tape on it. So as I said before, I'm using the stereo connector to make the connection between the gauges and all the sensors. And what I've done is, see, here's the wire, or the connector with all the wires, and each side you have the front and the back speakers, so the 4 wires on each side, and all I've done is trace them through up to here, and basically snip them off. There's 2 which are here, and the rest are on here, so you just snip them off. And there's no stereo connectors, don't do anything, but I'll take them up later. And then what I can do is I can use these, because it's got some length to them, to go part of the way into the firewall, or wherever they need to go for these sensors. So then all I need to do is solder these to this plug. So obviously cut some length from them, solder them to, write down which one's which, and with the corresponding one here, and then use these to go through the bulkhead to where they need to go. So I did all the soldering without the battery connected, and I've got the earth here, which used to go to if I could find it, used to go to a little spade connector. Somewhere now, I don't know what I've done with it, but anyway, I've put it to an earth here. So now, when I turn the ignition on, these should at least light up, even if they don't read much. So let's have a look. It's exciting, isn't it? And then, if I turn the light on, this, yeah, it goes amber. So with the oil pressure and the oil temperature, it needs a constant 12 volt supply, so I'll just put that into the yellow as well. And then I've just got these left. So what have I got? This is for the water temperature. I've got oil temperature, oil pressure, and 2 grounds, and I'm going to make them the grounds for the engine. So because they're on the engine, it's better to reference them to the engine. So I'm going to connect those 2 together, and then run a big long cable. So So I'm going to run them both to 1 and then run that cable into the engine bay. So I'm going to put them on one of these, and yeah, maybe this grey one down here, or whatever makes sense. The other side. Look at the other side of the connector. One of these, and I'll connect them together. Right, here's the finished article. So I'm just going to neaten up the tape job I've done on here. But I've got the wires labelled. So the engine earth, oil pressure to the G, water temp to the white wire, and oil temp. So those ones are going to go through the bulkhead along with this, which is for the fuel pressure. Obviously I need to connect the one which goes to the lambda, which is there. So I'm going to plug that in, but this is all ready now. So the thing that I like about how I've done it is that pretty much I can just disconnect this whole bundle away from the loom really easily. So I can just, you know, pop this connector out, the power connector out here, sorry, the centre connector out here, and the same for the one that goes to the AM. So they can just be a quick pop out, and then this cable is a quick pop out, and then that's it. I can take this whole 6 gauges out in one go, so quite useful for me. So here we have it. It's going to be a matter of just plugging this in, and then plugging these 2 connectors, this one for the fuel pressure and this one for the lambda, in the back here respectively. So it'll be a nice easy disconnect, and I'll probably just wire that to somewhere near there, as in put it somewhere to near there, but I'm not going to do anything else other than just take the 2 together and bung this through the hole. But other than that, I'm done with the gauges. So before you do anything, you want to make sure all your cable pulls are all correct. So this one's just going just below there, and for that I had it up there originally, which is wrong. Just pop this thing out and slid it through. Then you could have run the one that over there, which is to make sure that you can have recirculating or not, closes the flap basically. So I'll just run these wires over the top and put those wires at the back, and that is it. I'm going to see if I can wet the dashboard in now. Dashing yourself is highly advisable, plus you're really meant to take the steering column down, but being in a rush as ever. Anyway, so just make sure everything's, that's a little clip I made for these lights and stuff, so that's all in there. And this is the connector for all the gauges. So you can see that's kind of the point in doing this now. This little connector goes up behind here, which is the lights for this. I can probably just about do that. And yeah, it's in there. And this whole thing works real pain in the arse. So take off the little coin holder first under here with 3 little screws, and then come in here, and you've got this little thing which is a retainer. And in here, I don't know if you would see it, but you might take my word for it, down there there's a little hole that the little cable goes on. Then you're going to put this on afterwards, but oh, that was really annoying, but I got it done. That's tightened up here, the little screw which holds that little thing together, and then this is actually working. And dash is almost in. I just need to put the bolt there. There's a bolt here, and there's a bolt each side I need to find, so I'll get that. You're getting one each side, and the other, and this one on the bottom, and then at which point that should line up, and go for the long extension and just get it in. So here we have it. This is the little tap at the back, put it like that. Snap that bit in there. Has 2 little retaining screws going there. One that goes there. I'm going to put the remaining ones for the heater controls and stuff, and the 2 remaining there as well, the little crosshead screws. Then we're ready for the gauges, and as I said, nice and easy, just clip this in and clip these in, just see what they look like. Right, to get this set of speedos in, I took the little bezel off, and just got it in with these 10mm nuts on the back. I'm just going to do that. These are the gauges sitting pretty in there. Hopefully they're all tight enough, they're not going to go anywhere. Hopefully they are. Clocks are tightened up. I think it's only right that I start this up and show you what it looks like. That could have been eventful. It was in gear. Yeah, boy. Just to show you, all of it works. I'm very, very happy with that. So what the eagle-eyed viewers will have noticed is that I didn't actually put the connector for the clock in, which I should have done. But anyway, I managed to get it out without taking the whole dash out, which is good. Just by grabbing hold of this and grabbing hold of this and wiggling it side to side, and eventually it came off. And this is the connector that somehow got to feed up here. So I'm going to need to go up here, around the side, and then through this hole, bottom to here, and then in behind this bit of plastic to here, this little hole. I should be able to grab the connector there, and it's got a grommet. I don't know if I need that or not. Maybe I'll try and fish that in there as well. Then I can plug it into the back of my clock. Find a way of doing it. Just grab the whole wire towards you. Then if you actually pull this little rubber thing towards you and then push it back in, it'll go. You need it because obviously the hot air is going to be blowing behind your dash rather than towards you, so you need that. So anyway, now I can connect up. So there we have it. Put a bit of tape on it and just pulled it back so the minimum amount is showing. Check the clock works. Oh no. So now how it happened, it's because I took these out initially and put them back in, the wrong order, idiot. So just going to put these back in the right order, which is as per that. So you're looking at the back of the connector, and I think I must have put it in, I put it in upside down, I think. And what it was originally before I messed it up is white, blue, yellow, red, black and black. That's how it looks. Let's see if that works now. Right, now I'm going to put the center console on, so obviously take off the gear knob and then just slide that in. Bit of a fail, you notice the gauges aren't there. I'm going to need to cut this little piece here underneath there, and I'm a bit of a rush, so I'm not going to do that right now. Anyway, I managed to fit everything else up here, as well as it can be at least anyway. Next jobs are going to be putting the screws on like I said I was going to do, so put them in now. And there's two, a 10mm up in here, and a 10mm the other side that hold the dash again onto the car. So I'm just going to put those two 10mm in. That's how I've got it now. It's all tied in. Then we can put the glove box in. It's worth just tightening up this back screw. These always get loose, and it's easier doing that now than it is later. So God knows what's in here. Ooh. Anyway, put that in with these little screws. Not exactly my proudest moment, but it works. So there you have it. I need to have that mounted for the MOT. So then I've just got one more, which is the fog light, and I'm just going to have to shrewdly tape that in place or something like that. I just want to pass this MOT really. Before I go any further, you gotta have an OEM dash mat in these. Really, it's got to be done. Honda. I'm just showing off a bit there, aren't I? Managed to get that little cover. It's a little screw from the bottom which needed re-tapping. Anyway, I've got that in. That's looking pretty good there. And now it's just the carpet, seats and seat belt. I've come to whack the carpet in. I've actually managed to buy another carpet but for now I'm just going to use this one and chuck it in. Right, after a hoover, carpet's in. Doesn't look horrific, it's got a hole there, but like I say, I'm going to get another one, but for the MOT I just want it to look like a normal car. Oh dear. Now I'm going to put that centre console back in. I think I've got a way of getting these clocks in properly. As I said before, it's hitting on the piece that goes here when I put the centre console back in. So what I really need to do is I think switch the sets of gauges over and then just take some out of this. I'm really reluctant to take anything off the original Honda part, so I'll probably just have to sand this down a bit and get it to fit a bit better. So I'll probably do that. But anyway, in the meantime, I just need to put everything else back together. I'm going to put the centre console back in, then I'm going to put the seat belts in and then the seats in. So this centre bit's in. I managed to find this, which is a minor miracle in that garage. And this just snaps over here, over this this little piece here to keep this thing from popping off. So I'll just put that over there now. There you go, it's in. Over some 2,000-year-old plastic. And then I'm just going to put these seat belts in. These seatbelt sliders in, and you have one of these split washers that side, then this bar, and then that the other side of the bar in like that, and then these in as well. And these have got a similar situation, but a thinner one of these, thinner one of these washers in there, or at least that's what I've got in there. And yeah, time to put the seats in. The seats in. Just got the gear knob to put on, and the mats. Got some original Honda mats. I've had since I had the car actually. Here they are. So just chuck them in. This is the MOT fail sheet that you remember from last time, or quite a while ago now. So these are the points: so exhaust emissions, carbon monoxide content excessive. That is to do with the mapping that was bad, but now it's running the base map for the B18C4, so it should be fine. Headlamp aim too low, so I'm just going to, and so is the, well, both of them are, so I need to raise them up. Suspension component mounting, that's just to do with the sill that's going to get welded. The brake hose, those are the flexi that I changed. I've changed all the flexis all the way around actually. Windscreen wiper, well, I changed both of those. So those are the only things, and then we have near side outer as well, but this is the advisories. So front side outer, that's offside outer, near side outer. So it means that this sill is also it's near side, as in near the curb, which we're driving on the left, so that's where it is. So I'll probably get the other sill done at the same time, we'll see. Coolant leak, that was just I didn't tighten up a pipe before. I've done that obviously. And near side rear inner wheel arch heavily corroded. So yeah, it needs a lot of work, this car really, in terms of welding, but I just got to get an MOT on it. So the remaining jobs I've really got to do is put the I've got to put the headlamps up a bit, and everything else I've done on the have to do list. My headlights are both too low, so what I need to do is rotate this back, and so these bolts will end up further this way, okay? And what I've done is I've put some masking tape down and put a line either side of the middle of the bolt on both of them, because they're both too low, okay? And then I've undone with 10mm these two on top, and there's also one down here, which is just there, where my finger is. You need to undo that, and then the whole thing should be able to be moved. So you can just undo that, and I'm going to put it back a bit, and therefore raise the lights up. And then really, well, I'll just have to make a guesstimate for now, and wait for it to go dark, and then see if I've actually made a good improvement or not, so I can shine it against the garage. But at least if I put it a little bit further up, that'll be something. Also, you should take this little screw out the corner light, and then you'll have a better chance of moving this thing around. I've got to say the little bolt hole here, the little bolt that holds that on. Undoing that didn't do a great deal anyway, it's so flexible. But I managed to move it back, and you see I put it quite a bit further back, and that was tilted the whole light up. So I'm going to do the same to the other side. I'm going to finish this off now, and I think this is quite nice. Now I know it's cheap and it's made out of plastic, and some people are going to hate that, but I think compared to not having it there, I think it looks nice, and it's better than the scratch silver one I've got. So there you go, it's going on anyway. Now I'll just get some little 10mm nuts for that. The battery tie down there. Then I've got this supposedly Jay's Racing, although that's probably a sticker and nothing to do with anything. So just get that down in here. Walkie tool for that, because you can just get in there so nicely. I need to get this car backed out, and I'm going to use some carpet to try and drive it forward, then back, and then forward and back, and just try and shift it, because I can't get rid of that scrap car yet. So wish me luck, guys. Stuck on this really thick gravel, so oh dear, to dig him out. Trust old spade. Got it up, and I've checked also that the vehicle speed sensor is working, because it's showing me miles per hour on the dash, which is really cool. So that was an absolute mess and a nightmare, but I managed to do it, so good for me, really. A good check to see if your Rad Fans alive or not is you get your Rad Fan switch plug, which is just down here on the thermostat, and then you just bridge it, and I'll just see if it's running. With that, like that, and then take it out, and then it's obviously not hot enough to have the fan running, which I actually think it really is. So maybe I've got some kind of issue there, but I'll have to see. You have to get it properly warm and see if it comes on then. So I managed to get the cowl in. This is the CRX one, I think, and I took out these two bits, both sides, which hold the original clocks in, and just went for a straighter bit of metal with a slight twist in it. I'll put the cowl back on so you can't see it, and it just takes a lot of faff and a lot of moving stuff around, because at one point I was thinking I was going to have to cut it. I just didn't want to cut it because I'll never get a straight line. Now you see how I've got it. It's all pretty good in terms of the positioning. I can press all the buttons. It actually remembers the trip, because I've got the fixed, you know, the 12 volt constant supply. I don't really know. Trip B. I can hold on that and get rid of that. I don't really know what these things do, if they do anything, but that's in there. It looks a lot better. Now I'm just going to put the front bumper back on. So just prop the bumper in place, and it needs to go on 12mm, two 12mm here, which look like that, and has to each side of these little crosshead screws. Go up there and there, and they look like these. Right, that's in. It's easier to turn the wheel away, and then I'll put on these front indicators. Just extended the indicator cables, extended this one as well, so just pop this one, this little overflow tank out, and then you can just put the cable down there, and then make sure you use the insulation tape right up to this little boot, stop loads of water getting in it, and then just put these in like that with the screws in, plug that in there, and then it's on these two little speed clip things there and there. So I'll just use some of this grease, the runners for the sunroof, and now the speed it opens up, much better than before. You can see it's all packed in here. Probably went a bit overkill, but you know, it's doing a job. And to close, struggling anymore. Right, giving the old girl a bit of a tidy up, but the crash damage from Alton Park, thanks Andy, and under here, this is the dodginess, holes and crap. Back's not too bad. But again, it's all this rust I got down there. So, yeah, but it looks okay. Better than it did in the car. I haven't really cleaned it too much, but looks okay.